There's a lot to love about investing, and I genuinely believe that investing is one of the best things that I have ever done in my life. But sometimes, if I'm being completely honest, I wonder if I'm making a mistake, because I invest just over £500 every single month, and when I think about it, this is money that I could be spending on my life right now instead of investing. And sometimes I look at, am I actually giving up too much today for a future that is still years and years and years away? And I don't think we really talk about that side of investing. We're always talking about what it can bring, but we're never talking about the cost of investing. And guess what? It's not just monetary. So before I go any further, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice, and your capital will always be at risk when you invest. And in this video, I'm just going to be talking about my own experiences and what investing this amount of money has actually felt like. Like I said, I think it's one of the best things that I have ever done in my life, and I think it's one of the best things that you could do. But there is a side of it that is rarely talked about. So we spend a lot of time talking about what your money could become in 10, 20, 30, 40 years of time. And we talk about compound growth, reaching £100,000, hitting £1 million, and eventually having more freedom over how you spend your time. All of this is great, and it's great to have that blue sky thinking, but what does it actually cost you to get there? Because I have found investing doesn't just cost me money. It changes how I spend, what I say yes to, and sometimes how I feel about my money as well. So as I say, I invest just over £500 a month, and I didn't start investing £500 a month from the start. It's taken me quite a few years to get to this point. I started with a much smaller amount and gradually increased what I was investing as my income has allowed me to do that. And that is something that I really like about investing, because you can start with an amount that you can afford, build that habit and increase it as your income increases. But eventually, as this amount has got bigger, I've started to notice these trade-offs more and more, because a lot of the money that I have on a month-to-month basis isn't available to me anymore. And I have deliberately taken it out of my current spending plan, and I've put it somewhere where I hope it will benefit me in the future. And on the surface, this sounds great, but when you're standing in a shop deciding whether to buy something, it feels very odd, because you're telling yourself you can't afford something. An example of this was last week when I was in Uniqlo telling myself I can't afford a white t-shirt. And that isn't even a big expense, but I'm in the shop feeling like, I can't afford that. And that's one of the strange things that I've noticed, because I am feeling poorer than I actually am. On paper, I might be doing absolutely fine, but I've deliberately chosen to have less disposable money now that's available to me than I technically could have. And every month, a big chunk of my income is disappearing into investments before I even get the chance to spend it. And because of that choice I've made, there are times when I really do feel like I can't afford anything. Life is just too expensive. And it's all completely self-inflicted, because I know exactly where that money's going. I'm not losing it, I'm not wasting it, because it's sitting there invested for my future in Trading 212 and Vanguard. But that doesn't get away from the fact that I still have less money available to spend today. And then on top of that, the other thing it changes is how often you say no to things. And I've definitely said no to things because I'd rather invest that money than say yes and do it. And that includes weekends away, clothes, or even grabbing a sandwich when I'm out in town running some errands. And sometimes saying no is an easy decision, but other times it's not that straightforward. And I feel like an absolute idiot when I'm saying no, I can't afford a sandwich when I'm running those errands. And this is because you start to compare almost every bit of spending with what that money could become if you invested it. So a £10 or £40 purchase is no longer £10 or £40. You start thinking about what that £40 could be worth in 10 to 15 years. And don't get me wrong, that is useful because it stops you wasting money on things that you don't really care about. But there is a point where you have to take stock and you have to be careful, because if every pound you spend feels like a pound you could be invested, spending money starts to feel like you're doing something wrong. And spending money isn't wrong whatsoever. And this isn't always a healthy side to investing. So when you are in that stage, you have to ensure you strike a balance where you can still spend and enjoy your money without feeling guilty because it could have been put into an index fund, for example. Well, if this content is resonating with you, I actually write about money and these types of decisions in much more detail in my newsletter. It's completely free and there's a link in the description if you'd like to join. There's also a social side to this as well, and I've been called tight with money more than once, and to be fair, I can understand why. So if your friends are going out and you decide that you don't want to spend money, from their perspective, it probably just looks like that you don't want to spend any money, or even worse, spend time with them, which isn't isn't the case whatsoever. But they don't see the internal wrestle that you have within your own mind on whether you should or shouldn't spend money. And they don't see the investment amount going out of your account every single month. And when your friends are earning a similar amount to you, this can be awkward because you know that you could be spending more money on enjoying things, and they know you could be spending more money on enjoying things as well. But you've decided to say no. And there is a difference between being able to afford something and choosing not to afford it. And when you're choosing not to, this can be much harder to explain to somebody when they can't see what you're trying to build in the background. They just see it as no, and when they say why and you explain it, they don't fully understand what you're trying to achieve. And the social cost isn't even the hardest thing, I don't think. I think the hardest thing is that when you start, you have to believe in the outcome before you even see it. When you first start investing, your contributions are going to do most of the heavy lifting, if not all of it. So you're putting money in every single month and you're watching that balance go up, but most of the time that balance going up is just you adding your own money. The growth is happening, but because you don't have a lot of money in the account right now, it just doesn't feel significant. So you're making sacrifices today for something that you cannot really see right now. You're saying no to things because you're believing that your future self will be grateful for the things that you're doing today. And sometimes it's really hard because you're having to trust the process. There isn't an immediate reward. Nobody's giving you a notification or a well done to say, you didn't buy those trainers, you said no to going out, here is your financial freedom. Nothing is happening like that. You just have to carry on month after month, year after year, with the eventual feeling that if you stick with it, those numbers will start to change and it will feel meaningful. But there is a long period where you're doing most of the work and you're waiting for your money to start doing more of it for you. And this is one of the hardest things that I found, because for years and years, it felt like nothing was happening. Even though it was in the background, it was just that I didn't have enough in the account for it to feel like that until it did. You never know the contribution that is change it all. And there is also a trap that comes with thinking this way. So once you become focused on investing, it's very easy to convince yourself that spending money is irresponsible. Like I said, it isn't. But you can start to think that every pound should either be invested, saved, or put towards something productive. And suddenly everything can wait. So that holiday can wait, the clothes can wait, going out for dinner can wait, doing something fun can wait, because your future self needs the money more than you do right now. But you're investing for freedom and you want to get to a point where your money is giving you more options. And I don't want to spend my entire life saying no to everything. You want to invest so then you can have a better life. But at some point you have to actually live the life you're trying to build. For years and years and years, until I met my partner, I restricted myself so unnecessarily for the future of investing. That's one of the costs that nobody really talks about. But until you are investing, you won't feel that. So you just have to be wary of that trap. So even though I've spoken about all of this, do I think I'm making a mistake by investing just over £500 every month? Well, the answer is no, I don't think I am. I still think investing is one of the best financial decisions that I've made. I don't regret the money I've invested, and I don't wish I'd spent all of it. And I still believe that generally, the more you're able to invest for the long term, the better position you can put your future self in. But I also think you do need to understand what that decision means for your life today. If you're investing as much as you can, there are going to be things that you don't buy. There are going to be trade-offs. There will be things that you say no to. And there will be times that you choose your future self over your present self. And you just have to be comfortable with making that decision, because that is part of the deal. And I don't think we need to pretend otherwise. Just need to be aware of it. And when I think about it now, I don't really see the money I invest as money that I'm losing. I see it as money I'm choosing to give to my future self. I'm deliberately giving up some of my spending power today because I believe the money that I invest will give me more options later in life. And for me, that is a trade-off that I'm happy to make. The important thing is knowing what you're actually giving up to make it happen, because investing is supposed to give you more freedom. It might just not give you much freedom today. And if you are building wealth from nothing, there is naturally going to be a period where you have less money available to you now to enjoy today because you're putting it towards something for tomorrow. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're building building something for the future, and you need to be aware of that, and you need to remember that your current life does matter, so you shouldn't completely restrict yourself. You don't want to get to a point where you're so obsessed with your future finances that you forget the here and now, because you want financial freedom in the first place, and you need to give yourself some freedom now. So I don't think the answer is to invest less. If you can afford to invest more and you're comfortable with those trade-offs that come with it, I think investing more is generally going to be a good thing that can benefit you in the future. I just think the important part is being honest with yourself about what it costs. You're making a choice between what the money can do for you today and what it might be able to do for you in the future. And there isn't any guarantee that you are going to have more in the future, because investing, there are risks to it. But for me, I do think the future is worth prioritizing, and that's why I keep investing. And I think being aware of that makes you more intentional with your investing, and I think it makes you overall a much better investor. So am I making a mistake? No, I don't think I am. I still think investing is one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. I still invest every single month, and if I have any spare money, I will also invest that, because I want to invest as much as I reasonably can, because I know what that money could eventually do for my future if I invest well. But I do understand that there is a cost to it, and sometimes that cost is going to be saying no to things that I could afford, or sometimes it's going to feel like I have a lot less money and it's a lot tighter than I would like it to be on a month-to-month cash flow basis. And sometimes it's simply having the motivation to trust that what I'm doing today will be worth it for years for now. So for me, I do think it's the best thing ever. But there are trade-offs, and you have to understand that. And even though I'm saying you should invest for your future, you do need to remember you should also be living your life today, but you do also need to live for the here and now. But if you'd like more practical stuff like this, I send a free newsletter every single week where I share what I'm learning about investing, saving, and building wealth. There is a link in the description, so if you'd like to join, it's completely free. All I need is your best email address. And finally, just a reminder that nothing in this video is financial advice. Like I say, I'm sharing my own experiences and opinions, and investing involves risks. Your capital will always be at risk, and you should consider your own circumstances before making any investment decisions. So if you'd like to watch another video, you can watch one that YouTube recommends that's displaying here, here, or here. I never get it right, but it'll be around here. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.